All right, we're live. Hey everyone, I'm sitting with Madison Chertow. Did I say that right?
Yeah, you did actually.
I never actually knew that. So Madison's actually my best friend's fiance. They're getting married,
Yeah, yeah,
and that's super exciting. But as much as I'd love to talk about that, that's not why
yeah,
we're here. Madison's an Instagram influencer, and if I'm not mistaken, mostly for fashion, beauty
yeah.
products, health and wellness products, right?
Yes, exactly.
So she's kind of an avid fanatic for health, wellness. It's a big part of your life.
It's true.
Uh,
It's a huge part of my life.
and had an interesting journey into exercise, fitness, and all that. And although you're not a health professional, which is the primary type of person that I interview in these podcasts, I do feel like having someone who is into health, but also coming from a more, well, general pop background might be valuable for people to hear, like what it looks like for someone who maybe didn't start out like an exerciser, but kind of it grew into your life and what your journey was like. So
Exactly. Yeah.
kind of what we're gonna go over. So I'm interested, maybe if you could just start with, maybe starting with like telling us about yourself and how your journey into exercise, what it looked like, where you started, maybe when you were younger, and
Yeah.
then how that kind of developed.
Yeah. So when I was young, I ate a lot of fast food. I was very unhealthy, just like, I mean, most of my friends in middle school, most kids ate like that. And I became really overweight. And I was around 15 when I kind of had this like realization of, okay, I'm uncomfortable. This doesn't feel right. I don't feel healthy. And I wanted to be in the fashion world. So I started looking at a lot of people that were in great shape. And I was like, how are they in shape? Is their skin so good? And so when I was 15, I actually kind of very early on figured out that I needed to make a lot of lifestyle changes already. And I got into cooking and exercise and all these things. And it truly was such a crazy experience because there was so much messaging out there of all these different diets and fads and lifestyles, and I was so overwhelmed. And so I've tried every type of wellness lifestyle. Now I'm almost 30, so I've really gone through so many different trends, fads, types of exercise, and I finally have gotten to a place where I have a really healthy balance and a really great knowledge and understanding of what works for me. And so it's been quite a journey to get there.
So can you give maybe a quick overview of like some of the things that you tried?
Yes.
Or nutrition at least, maybe starting with that.
Yeah. So when I was really young, I was like, okay, so if I am to lose weight, you just have to do a ton of cardio. So for a lot of my life, it was all about just HIIT training with no proper form. So it was like burpees, like, oh, I have to do 100 burpees. It doesn't even matter if I'm doing them correctly. It's just going to make me thin. And like, that's just the goal. It was like coming from a very like uneducated perspective on fitness, but it was kind of what I was told was the thing that was going to work. So for a lot of years, it was a lot of HIIT training, a lot of running, a lot of overtraining, a lot of exhausting myself. And I thought, and this was up until maybe the last few years. So it was a lot of my life, but as a woman, there's so much messaging that that's like what you need to do to look the way you want and feel the way you want. So, I thought like working out till exhaustion and almost feeling nauseous was going to get me where I wanted to be, both aesthetically and just feeling good. And really what was happening was, although I felt good about myself for sticking to a routine, I was finding myself so fatigued all day. Like I was like, wait, isn't exercise supposed to make you feel good? I was just so exhausted all day after my workout to where I couldn't do anything else. My brain too felt exhausted. And I was actually I was a lot more puffy. I didn't have any muscle. I was kind of swollen. I had a lot of bloating and hormonal issues. And I couldn't really understand. I thought I was doing everything right. and I couldn't understand why I wasn't exactly looking the way I wanted. I was slender, but I was uncomfortable. I was swollen. I was exhausted. My skin wasn't good. You know, there were so many things going on that I didn't understand. And, you know, with my diet too, I was vegan. So although I thought that was something that was going to help me because I was plant-based, I was really not plant-based at all. I was eating lots of processed foods made up of primarily vegetable oils and synthetic things and all this stuff. So I didn't understand what was wrong, but I was told that this was what was to be done.
Well, it sounded just like you had some positive effects in regards to your training and getting
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, I feel like when I was 15 and I didn't understand any of it, but I started cooking whole foods and I started walking on the treadmill and all these things, and I did lose weight and I did start to look and feel good. But what is interesting is as I got older and, you know, got on social media and started following trends, I started following the wrong trends. And it's, you know, I looked and felt good, but I just wasn't understanding why I still had hormonal issues, a lot of bloating, and, you know, no muscle. I couldn't hold a 10-pound dumbbell like over my head. So I was like, what's going on? So, you know, it was like things were positive, but they weren't. I was like, I'm working out 6 days a week, doing 1,000,000 burpees. So why am I not feeling 1,000,000% perfect? You know?
Yeah. So, you know, was it a simple resolution and just backing off on your frequency, or change?
So I actually changed pretty much everything that I was doing as in the last few years or couple of years. I started weight training and lifting weights and doing things slower. And so for me personally, I think too much HIIT style workouts were not working for me because I actually have gained muscle and I've become more toned and lean when I started doing less and slower, which you told me for a long time. So, you know, and it's like now I do weights, now I do reformer Pilates. I do all these things that are like controlled, slow, careful, mindful, you know, and those are the things now I'm like, oh, everything that I was missing, it's all coming together now. And so in less time than all of the HIIT and all the craziness.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
fun. You have to work a little less and get more.
Yeah, totally.
It's
Totally.
valuable for people to hear because, you know, a lot of people are in the same boat. They just think work hard. If you can't,
Yeah.
work harder. But sometimes recovery is really important. And
Yeah.
for women, especially when you do these high intensity training things,
Yeah.
it can be a big drain, as you mentioned, on your hormones, on your thyroid, and all this other stuff that can mess up your menstrual cycle. Maybe you had some of that happen.
Exactly. Yeah, so badly. And you know, I've learned recently a lot. I don't know a ton about it, but there's something being talked about now called cycle syncing that's kind of aimed at women to work out differently on your cycle and stuff like that. So I think it's becoming more mainstream now. But I mean, I just kind of figured it out from so much trial and error. And I was like, I can't believe the things that I was told would work were the things that worked the least for me. That's how it can be.
What happens sometimes is
Yeah.
but the cool thing is that you didn't just keep your head down, keep doing what wasn't working. You've tried to figure it out.
Exactly.
It sounds like you're doing that. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
When it comes to exercise, like, do you enjoy it? What do you enjoy about it?
Yeah. So for me, I think, you know, having a routine, getting in the routine of exercise I think it's so hard for everybody because it requires a lot of commitment and building a routine, which takes work. For me, one of the things about it that I really love is that it's it's something I do now most days of the week, and I get excited that I've been sticking to this routine. So for me, it's like almost like good for my mental health that I go and I do it and I did it and I'm happy. And it's like, it's something that now brings me joy instead of something I dread. And I actually just like getting better at everything I'm doing. And I think with like weight training type classes and things, it's kind of, there's more of a goal there when you're like trying to get better and stronger. And I think before, when it was just like HIIT workouts and burpees, like how could you enjoy just doing that for an hour? But now it's like I go into the gym and I'm like, okay, today I have a goal of lifting heavier and doing more reps and being slower and more methodical about what I'm doing. And it's like exciting. So it's like now I have like motivation just to be better. So it is enjoyable now.
Yeah, it's a rewarding thing, and it is. Maybe you are, if I'm wrong, I'm not wrong, but it sounds like you're saying weight training, you almost see like more immediate
Yeah.
success session to session because you do the movements better,
Yeah.
you feel more weight, or you feel a little stronger like in the session itself.
Yeah, there's like a proper way to measure success with weight training, I feel like.
Yeah, whereas you're just burning calories.
There's no, yeah.
But yeah, like weight loss takes time, so you don't see it as quickly. It's
Yeah,
hard to get committed to it, right? But you
exactly.
still do cardio and other that stuff.
I do a lower intense. I focus more on lower intensity just because I feel like I wound up having almost like an unhealthy relationship with cardio where it was just about like going so hard for so long. So now it's like I do a lot of Stairmaster. I do treadmill sometimes, but it's like, I think I was just overdoing it so much. So now it's like 2 days a week of that. I work that in. I usually do a class that's like a half weight training, and then half Stairmaster, which has worked really well for me. And I feel like it's helped my hormones and helped me a lot better, not doing crazy cardio.
Right. Keep it kind of balanced between a lot of different things and not
Yeah.
overstuff your system with one modality. Sounds
Yeah,
like.
exactly. Yeah.
So you work out almost every day, but it just varies.
Yeah. Like I'm around 5 or 6 days a week now.
Is it
I
hard
alternate.
to do that? Did that take time for you to get?
That took honestly like my whole life, my whole fitness life to get that on a routine, because it really is hard to truly stick to it. Like you can find so many excuses to skip a day or two or three, and then it becomes too many days and then you lose that momentum. So it's honestly taken me a long time to get it's like something I just do and it's in my calendar and I treat it like a work meeting or anything else. It's my time for me to become healthier. And it's just like it's easy now, but it's taken time.
Right. Yeah. And that's so normal. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a struggle for people to start any new habit.
Yeah.
I guess, was there like a thing in your mind? What kind of tape were you rolling that helped you when you first started to get going? Was it just being focused on your goals, or like what?
I think, honestly, I think my goals when I was like around 15, 16, I really wanted to look better. And that was a big motivator. It's always a motivator. But, now my goals are kind of like, preventative health, all of that. Of course, still looking in shape. But yeah, I mean, I definitely had the motivation. It's just hard to get in the routine. It's hard for everybody.
Right. Once you're in it, though, it's kind of just your norm.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's normal.
I'm curious, when you finish a workout, like how do you measure that it was successful? Like what do you look for that tells you, hey, this was a good workout where this one wasn't?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like someday, I think for me, a lot of it is the sticking to the habit, is still going. If I'm tired, not skipping the workout. So it's like still going and maybe setting my goals a little less. Like I don't have to be as amazing and strong as I was the day before. But the fact that I went and showed up for myself and did it, I think as long as I do it and I do whatever my best is that day, I think that is how I want to feel after. And that can vary. Like a lot of things can affect that. But I think for me, it's just feeling like I showed up for myself and did the best work I could do that day.
Yeah, that's a really wise take on it, because I mean, you don't sleep well, maybe you didn't eat well the next day, and you're going to be a little sluggish.
Yeah.
So the day to go after it hard. And
yeah, and like that's how I felt yesterday. And I it was one of those days where I was like, oh, I wish I wasn't working out today, but I still showed up and I didn't do as good, but I was like, okay, I made it through that hour, and you never regret a workout. So I was like, I'm glad I still showed up for myself.
So because we all have days where we don't want to train,
Yeah.
what do you tell yourself? How do you get yourself to go anyway when you're like, I really don't want to do it?
I think that's kind of like the mental aspect for me, is it feels good to take that hour out of my day for me. I feel like at the very least, if my physical body doesn't want to work out, it's my mind that is like, do that for you. Just go. It's just 1 hour. You can spend an hour doing anything. I could spend an hour on my phone so easily, which, yeah, that's easier. But, it's just like, it's just an hour. I can do it. And I think that's a big thing that has given me such success with my mental health, is sticking to that even when I don't want to. And that takes a long time. I will say, like, it's not easy. It's definitely easier said than done, but you get to that place where it feels good to show up for yourself,
It sounds almost like it's your self-care
It
strategy, and it's partly, if not more, about your mental well-being.
It is. And I've learned that, before, and I thought I was just working out to look a certain way. And then I realized, there's so much more to it, and it feels truly just like self-care that I have to do.
I mean, there's so much research on exercise being applied for depression and all sorts of mental disorders, and it's very effective. So
yeah, it's been the most effective, I think, in my whole life. Like, having this relationship with exercise and this routine has been the most impactful thing I could ever do. It's like, with food and wellness and everything, it's all like my self-care. It's just how I take care of myself every day and show up for myself. I have to do it,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you dabbled in a lot of it's called biohacks or modalities that are supposed to enhance your wellness, your health, and how you feel. Were there any that really stuck out as being super effective? I know there's a long list, but maybe there's a few that you're like, wow, these actually gave me something, gave me an edge or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, does weight training count?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's like, I feel like that was one of the biggest things for me. I feel like healthy eating, I feel like simplifying my diet, and to look like,
what does that mean, simplifying?
Simplifying it as in, I've tried every diet. And for me, I think the biggest thing that changed my life was, before I was eating a lot of like vegan processed foods. And then I was like, one day I was looking at this vegan butter that I had, and I had regular butter in the fridge, and I was looking at the ingredients of the vegan butter, and it was this long of a paragraph. And then I was looking at the butter, and it just said butter. And then I was like, why am I eating all this stuff when I could eat one thing in its pure form? So I feel like, weirdly enough, the most effective biohack was just simplifying everything, dialing everything back.
Right. Do you had some like guidance with this, right? Didn't you do some a functional medicine person, which is simply like a fancy nutritionist, and they did testing? You know what that is?
Yeah, so I did work with a functional medicine practitioner, and it was really cool because it was a mix of like some cool Eastern medicine, herbs, acupuncture, stuff like that. But he also does blood work. So it was like very much down to the data and the science of like what is working for my body and what isn't. And I didn't understand that natural whole foods could actually be inflammatory for certain people. I thought like, I was eating a lot of brown rice, and I had a lot of gut issues, and I could not connect it back to the rice. I was like, it's just rice. It didn't make sense to me. And then I got the blood work with him, and rice was it was like off the charts in terms of causing a reaction of inflammation for me. And I stopped eating brown rice, and my gut healed. It was really crazy. But stuff like that, I think, you know, everyone is so different. And so although there's so many things, you know, that you could take as advice that are so beneficial for someone, it's like you kind of have to figure out what works for you. And like I think that blood work's really helpful. Yeah, it's
It,
crazy.
yeah, it's weird because like foods that should be benign or healthy for you, like broccoli or spinach, might really blow you up or make you
Yeah.
down in a way that's like surprising.
And I feel like people don't realize that because you're told like eat brown rice and vegetables or whatever. And like I felt terrible, but I couldn't understand why. And it was like my blood work told me why. So
Well,
it's
if
crazy.
you do you feel like if you knew about that information and didn't have the blood work, you could have maybe still figured it out with like an elimination diet or something like that?
Totally, totally. That's the thing is like, you know, I think I didn't have the knowledge that something natural could be bad. Like I couldn't understand. I think eventually I would have started an elimination diet. I just was not, I didn't have the knowledge of like that being possible. I just thought if you don't eat a bag of Doritos and you're eating rice, you're okay. But for me personally, it was not working for me.
And you also had like a big shift in your nutritional approach recently, right? By eating red meat again.
Yeah.
Why'd you do that?
So that was kind of during I was really into vegan diet. I was, you know, I tried low fat, low carb vegan, you know, all these things. And it was like, I didn't feel good. And I was, you know, it was around that time when I had the awakening with the butter. I was like, why am I eating this butter with all this and all these ingredients? Same thing with you know, soy protein, but it wasn't just soy. It was a list of additives, vegetable oils, all these things. And I was like, why am I trying to digest all of these ingredients? Like, you know, that's just where my head went. I was like, it doesn't really make sense how that's good for me.
Mhm.
And then meat is just meat. You know, good quality meat's important, but meat is just meat and butter is just butter. And I was like, I'm going to just try this because it's just these two natural things.
Mhm.
And for me, they worked. And I think, you know, I think I had some nutrient deficiencies that I didn't realize because when I started eating the meat, my skin got all these things that I couldn't believe how much better I felt. But also, I thought the way I was feeling before might have just been some degree of normal because I had no idea I could feel this much more energized, this much more better. So it's pretty crazy. Yeah. You know, I'm still adjusting to eating meat because in a lot of ways I'm not like a huge fan of meat, but I feel so much better and I'm starting to crave it and I'm listening to those cravings.
Yeah, that's it's such a big trend too, vegan right now. So
Yeah.
it's good to hear that. I mean, you know me, I'm a big
Yeah.
advocate of meat, but
You were telling me. Yeah. I'll be when I was still eating all my soy protein. But yeah, it's hard. And I'm sure there's some vegan people that do it correctly and are healthy. It's just I think it requires a lot of work. And I you know, when you go to a store, you can get vegan chicken pizza, and you're like, that's healthy because it's vegan. And there's, you know, but you're really eating
junk.
nothing good for you. So yeah,
And I think the real message here is it doesn't have to be like your staple of your diet. Like you probably only eat meat occasionally, and it's not
yeah,
a ton, right? But it's just enough to get you the vitamin B and some of those
yeah,
extra nutritional components that you can't get without red meat. So that's a
exactly.
really awesome thing that you figured that out because that could have been
Yeah.
holding you back for a while.
I think it really was. It's pretty crazy. I feel so much better. And so I try to have it like a couple times a week.
Cool. Yeah, that's probably enough.
Yeah,
Maybe start incorporating some liver and heart too.
I'm trying. I have a liver supplement and I see people eating like raw liver. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, that's advanced, but I'm interested. I'm intrigued.
yeah, it's a little tough. I still can't do it that well
I
either.
know, but I'm intrigued. So we'll see where I end up in a couple of years. Who
Yeah,
knows?
yeah. Exposure therapy, you'll get there.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what are your thoughts? Have you had any experience with heat and cold exposure?
So, you know, it's funny. I actually have an appointment next week to do both.
Oh,
I've done it a few times and it's crazy. It's hard for me And I think that's why I want to do it more. I think the like resilience that comes with those things. And I know all the health benefits too, but I think there's something kind of cool mentally about being able to deal with that. And I'm kind of attracted to that part of it. But also, yeah, I mean, I need to start doing it. I have done it a few times. It's hard, but I know it gets easier.
You've done both, like you went into
I've done both. I mean, it's the cold is the hardest for me. For a while, I was really into Wim Hof, and I was like, okay, I want to start doing the cold showers, and I did them for a couple minutes. It's hard, but I think anything that betters you is hard, and I want to be better about it.
It's definitely a shock. I actually just got a cheap poor person's ice bath, so maybe.
Oh, I see. I think I need to have one and make it a routine, just like fitness and everything. But I am doing both sauna and cold plunge back to back next week, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, you'll probably feel amazing after it's over.
Yeah, I know. I've read a lot of benefits about cold plunge and cold exposure. I've done cryo, which is, it's so hard. It was crazy, but I was like, I felt so good after, and I was reading a lot about the benefits for your immune system and everything. So.
But that's really short, right? It's like less than
it's three. I think it was 3 minutes.
Oh, that's really long.
And some people go up to 5. I had to get out by 3, but I was like struggling immediately. But I was trying to kind of make it like this, like mind meditation, like being mindful about it. And I was like, I can do this. And that was kind of the cool part for me. I mean, all of these things, it's like, I like the mental aspect and that challenge. Mm-hmm. Along with the health benefits. And I feel like that balance is like really kind of nice.
Well, one half, when you do the cold plunge, don't move, because when you stay still, there's like a barrier of heat from where your body touches the water. You create like a barrier that's a little warmer.
So when I do the plunge, I just stay still.
Just get in, don't move, because it'll be slightly warmer than if you move your body around, which is the natural instinct anyway, is not to move. But
yeah, I haven't done a plunge, so I'm nervous. I don't know how cold they get, but I'm excited.
It can be anywhere from 37 to 50. So hopefully it's not 37.
Oh, great. My first one. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely tough, but you'll be able to do it. Even if you only do 30 seconds, it's still beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah.
So other than the blood work stuff, have you done any other types of testing for your health? Maybe it's body fat testing, maybe it's strength testing. Like, what other techniques have you tried or done?
Yeah, so I at one of my gyms that I take classes at, they have an in-body machine. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like it's I've read that it's like relatively quite accurate considering and it's where it basically measures your body fat, but it measures like each arm, each leg, every part of you, how much water, weight you're holding, muscle, like everything. It's pretty cool. I don't know how incredibly accurate it is, but it is, I feel like, a pretty good measure that's pretty accessible for people. And it's cool. And that's the thing, I did it at the beginning of my weight training journey. And so it's like I have this like measure on paper of how much it's helped me. And it is a big motivator. And I learned a lot about how, like, early on in my fitness and health journey, I was, the only measure I understood was weighing myself, which to me, I wouldn't ever weigh myself on a regular scale again. Because I learned that number doesn't really mean much, at least to me personally and my goals. So it's like, now it's like, maybe my weight is a few pounds more than a few years ago, but it's like, I have so much less body fat. I have so much more muscle. And I think using that machine too has actually really helped my understanding of my body and how health and weight works. So I think that's a big one for me. And I would really recommend that for people when they're training, and like seeing the progress and seeing how their weight changes, but not just the number, like what their body is made of.
Yeah, it's a very inconsistent thing, your weight. Like, mine goes up and down like pounds a day, so it's not.
That's the thing. And it's, I have friends and people that are like, oh, I gained weight, and I'm like, well, it's just or they go and do weight training and they're like, I'm just gaining weight. And
Mhm.
it's like, well, you're gaining muscle or you're swollen from working out or whatever, but the goal is to gain muscle. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think muscle weighs more than fat.
Mhm.
So I think it's like, I would rather be a few pounds heavier, but have muscle than, fat.
That's what makes us look lean and toned and
Yeah,
what we want, essentially.
exactly. So I think doing that's actually really healthy. I think especially for women because it's like there's been so much weight is like how you measure progress, like
Mm.
your scale, but it's like I would never use a scale again now.
So minus the in body, how else do you measure or track your progress within your training to know that you're going towards your goals?
I think I think weight training helps me measure it because it's like how can I lift heavier? Am I getting stronger? Like, am I improving? Even with, I do a lot of reformer Pilates too, which is actually pretty hard. And I've tried a lot of things. It's actually pretty hard for me because I'm still working on my core strength and like not just my abs visibly, but like my core all the way around. I don't really have great core strength. I'm getting there, and I'm noticing visible progress there, but I'm also able to do more reps of everything. I'm able to keep up with what an instructor is telling me to do. And that's a big way I measure progress is actually getting better at the exercise because I'm able to hold the position or hold the heavier weights and do more reps. And, that's really what it is for me now is like doing these things that are more mindful, like slow, heavy, and being able to do it and do more of them. Because when I started, maybe I would drop out of position more, have to set the weights down and take breaks. And now I can do more reps without breaks. So I think that's been a big way I've been measuring progress without it being
Uh-huh.
about the scale or anything like that.
Okay. Are we back? Sorry, cut
Oh,
out.
did you lose me?
Yeah, but it looks like it's working. It's been an issue. I have to figure this out.
Oh, is it your? Okay, I thought maybe it was me.
Yeah, it's mine, but it seems okay. It might cut out again, but
Okay.
we're good now. You used to have some issues with your upper back, if I'm not mistaken. That's probably right around when you were starting to include resistance training, I feel like. Have you noticed that get better as you started strength training?
Yes, actually. I mean, it's still, for me, one of my biggest issues, I think that makes it worse is my posture. And I've found that Pilates is actually helping with that. And I think, and the strength training with my back, like actually getting muscles in my back is helping with that, and having more core strength is helping with that. So overall, I'm not dealing with as much like pain on a regular basis. Even now, when I started talking about my posture, I realized I was sitting bad. So, it's still like something I'm working on for sure.
Well, it sounds like it's improving, which if you
It
keep
is.
doing it will probably get resolved altogether.
It is.
Just
I mean, I haven't been doing all these things together for that long. The routine I have right now, I think, is what I'm going to stick with, and it's like working really well for me. And for in such a short time of doing these things together, I am noticing the most change in every aspect.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
What's so I think you recently just got an Aura ring, right?
I
Have
did.
you So an Aura ring is essentially a sleep tracking device that you wear on your finger that it lets you know how you're sleeping essentially. And
Yeah,
you can use that data, right, to maybe hack your sleep, to alter when you might eat dinner, to maybe turn the
yeah.
lights, play around with how you can get better quality sleep. What does your sleep hygiene look like? And did you find the Aura ring helps you maybe navigate and change how you approach your sleep?
Yeah, so I've always slept really good, which I've been really lucky about. And my Aura ring, it's pretty crazy. It has been really good, but I notice a lot of times, and I'm still kind of figuring out the technology and what everything means because I haven't had it for too long. But I notice now that when I actually don't feel as good as I normally do, my sleep is lower, or my sleep's okay, but my readiness score is low and things like that. And I'm at least kind of feeling like I'm a little more in control or have a better understanding of why I feel different on some days. But with my sleep, it's like I really do need my sleep. I mean, I think everybody does, but I'm very sensitive to sleeping any less than 8 hours. So I have to go to bed really early. Like my ring tells me at 7:45 that I should start getting ready for bed. So
So what does your sleep routine look like? Like, how do you prepare and ensure that you're going to get quality sleep?
yeah, so honestly, I need to be better about this because I am on my phone and I'm, watching TV pretty late before I fall asleep. And often I fall asleep like with the TV on or something. And my sleep score is still good, but I think I notice that my readiness isn't good. And I think that, you kind of know more about the Aura Ring than I do. I'm still new at it, but I think there is a connection with how much technology I'm using before bed with my readiness and certain things with my sleep. But I go to bed pretty early regardless. So even if I'm on watching TV or on my phone, I fall asleep by like 9 sometimes. So I'm still getting my hours in, and I actually get a lot of REM sleep and deep sleep. But yeah, I haven't figured out why my readiness score is not always perfect.
Yeah, that's it's influenced by so many things,
Yeah.
but there might be little tactics you could implement that might help. But
Yeah.
also maybe remember John's her husband or soon to be husband. He had these really funky, crazy looking red goggles, right?
Yes. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So the red light blocking or the blue light blocking glasses could be a way to hack where you could still watch TV. So essentially, they're just glasses that have a red tint to them that block blue lights from coming in your eyes because the blue light is what tells your brain that it's daytime. And
Yeah.
if you block that signal, then you can still get the melatonin release and help get into sleep and not maybe disrupt it. So it's a nice way to.
That's true. I should do that. Yeah, and that's actually the reason I decided to do the cold plunge and the heat and start working that in, is because I was reading about that helping with you last time you were here, you noticed that my resting heart wasn't, or my HRV was pretty low, and then I started looking into that, and it said like cold exposure heat and then the blue light stuff like that. So there is things I can definitely try that I'm about to start trying, because I'm really curious. Like I feel like I have a new tool to be more in control of my overall health, which is fun. So
Yeah, you get to track things at least in an objective way, and you implement something, you see the result, and you can kind of tweak things around. It's kind of fun.
exactly. Yeah.
What mental stress and what you mentioned exercise does for you for your mind is really impactful. Do you have other techniques, maybe breath work or meditation, that you implement to help manage stress and to keep your mind at peace?
Yeah. My fiance, he does breath work, and he says it saved his life in terms of mental health. I need to start doing it. I need to start meditating or doing something like that. I feel like it's always been for me, like my hour of the gym and then eating healthy has been what I would call my self-care. And it really is, but I think I need to start looking into meditation because I honestly don't have that routine, and it's hard. It's a new routine I have to conquer.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever tried it?
I have, and I think I'm sure a lot of people can relate. I feel like it's when actual very quiet meditation is hard. I feel like breath work might be better because it's more of an action and it's more active. But I feel like a lot of people can relate. It's hard if you don't do a good job. It's almost discouraging. But I have to take my own advice. I have to have that routine because it's important, and you get better at it. And I know a lot of people that say at first they just can't sit still. It feels like 5 hours, and I think I make those excuses too about doing it, but it is something I definitely want to do. I think it's about finding the right type of meditation, because some people do well with the breath work, some people do well with just guided meditation. So I have used the Aura Ring meditations before bed a few times, which has been nice, but it's not maybe technically meditating because I fall asleep. But I'm getting there. I'm warming up to it.
Yeah, I mean, and look, you're hitting it right on the money with the fact that it's not supposed to be easy, and it's not
Yeah.
about doing it perfect. It's just about
Do
drawing your attention to something. As it mind wanders, bringing it back, and just gonna do. You might do that 1,000 times in 10
Yeah.
years. That's part of the process,
And
really.
it's like exercise too. It's like you're not good at it right away and it's new and it's intimidating or whatever, but eventually you level up and you're like, okay, wait, I'm getting good at this. And then it becomes fun and then it becomes rewarding. And I think getting to that point takes work with everything. So it is the next thing, that and the heat and cold exposure are my next things I want to get really good at.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that goes for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What, you've had experiences with chiropractors, physical therapists, massage, a lot of different like self-care strategies from other professionals. Did you find any of those to be really effective, make you feel a certain way? Like which ones resonated with you the most?
Yeah. It's like I feel like I've tried a lot of things and I feel like they've all helped in different ways. I find, and I feel like I use this as a replacement or as my meditation, but I get a lot of massage and it's truly the way I actually relax mentally the most. So I think that's why I'm so drawn to just a massage. But yeah, actually, when you've worked on me, it was very helpful as well.
Mm.
But yeah, I think massage is something I really like, but I think it goes back to the and in a way being like a meditation for me as well, because it's the way I actually disconnect and feel my best, and it helps. It's more. I think maybe it's more of a temporary relief because a massage is maybe not fixing my posture, but it is making it feel better. It's relaxing my body, and it is good for recovery for me. So that is one of my favorite things as well. I also like to do lymphatic drainage massage, which has been helpful.
Okay, yeah, and I think that's a really wise way to think about it because, like you said, massage is an almost a way to tap into your parasympathetic nerve, like
Yeah,
autonomic nervous system to just kind of get you to calm down,
yeah,
relax, but maybe not addressing root issues within your
yeah,
muscle. But
yeah.
the mind's more at peace and at ease. It does affect how you feel in your body. So that's
Yeah.
a
I mean, it does help me a lot if I'm stressed or I notice it helps me be more aware of how I'm holding my body because it's like they're massaging me and my shoulders. I'm like, oh, my shoulders are like this all day. And finally they're not. So it has the long-term benefits for me, like being more in tune with my body. But overall, it is kind of like a meditation for me. I really relax mentally and physically.
yeah, yeah. I bet a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What would you say, from your personal opinion, the top three things that people should think of doing or incorporating to obtain like optimal health and mental health, physical health, and get a leaner physique from your
Yeah.
experience?
I think like I was saying with I think stepping away from a standard scale and basing in using those numbers to base your health off of, it's not healthy mentally, especially I think for women or anyone. It's just, I think being in control of your health and giving your body the healthy foods it needs, setting that routine and structure for yourself. And I think one of the best things for mental health is showing up to the gym or to that thing that's good for you, even when you don't want to, and having that like resilience and just working through and powering through that and doing it for you. I think really simplifying your routine as well and almost taking the complication out of it and staying away from diet trends and fads and all these things and just listening to your body and connecting to your body and doing as much as you can for your health preventatively. I think that was more than three things, but I really just think it's about like simplifying everything and being kind to yourself and also putting in the hard work and knowing it's worth it.
Yeah, I think that sounds perfect. I mean, like you've experienced, right? You can easily get into a trap of like thinking this is the way because everyone says it. And
Yeah,
so
it's listening to yourself. Like trying to tune out the noise and being like, okay, I mean, eating less toxic ingredients and just eating nut butter or whatever, and being kind to yourself in the process and being open to lifting weights because it's really good for you.
So with that in mind, because I hear this a lot, women are afraid to get buff because
Yeah.
you automatically become Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
You think women should be afraid of lifting weights because they're going to get buff? I mean,
No.
how does that perspective harm their abilities to get healthier and leaner?
It's crazy. I mean, again, I was one of those people too that I thought that if you lift weights, you look like a bodybuilder automatically, and men do that only, and women should never do that. It doesn't look attractive. But when I went to my first class, it's a boutique fitness studio, and it's primarily women. And I walk in, and every girl there had the most great, beautiful physique, and I was like, oh, and they come here all the time. Like, they look amazing. And it kind of opened, I was like, interesting. Like I never understood this to be true.
Mm.
And I just learned that, weight training will burn fat. It's good for your hormones as a woman. It's all these things that I think ail women, like especially hormones. It's so important. So I don't know, from my experience and everyone I've seen that lifts weights or does this class that I do, they look amazing and they feel good. And, I think that I don't know where that messaging started. I understand how it maybe started, but it's not true.
And that's great that you found that out and you're on track with something that's working well for you.
Yeah.
So your wedding's coming up. What are you most excited for?
I mean, I'm nervous, but I'm very excited. I'm just excited to see it all come together, like the day I've been planning for a year. So
What are you nervous about?
What?
What are you nervous about?
Just the day coming together. I'm excited and nervous for the same thing. So I'm just excited to marry him, and I'm excited to have the fun day, but I'm nervous about all the logistics. But that's why I need to start meditating. That's why lately I've been more anxious than I've ever been in my life. And I feel like it's normal, but it's just so much going on. So that's why I'm like, okay, I need to start working on these other things that I don't do.
Yeah, I mean, you feeling this is like totally normal. It's a big thing and a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
Details and stuff.
And that's what everybody tells me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have all this anxiety. Is this normal? And everyone's like, this is normal. But I still I'm like, yeah, I need to start meditating.
Best time to start, right?
I know.
Really
I know, seriously.
So, a couple of personal questions on top of that. Like, if you go back in time 10 years ago, give yourself advice, what would you say?
I think it would be to be easier on myself, because it was like in the beginning, I was like, I think I had the wrong priorities, not completely wrong, but I had some of the wrong priorities in terms of health. And, I've learned so much along the way. It's been quite a journey. And I wish I could tell myself all of this that I've learned 10 years ago. But, I think in a lot of ways, people have to learn for themselves and go through all the things to get there. So I would say be kinder to myself and trust the process, and I'll figure it out eventually.
That's great.
I'll get there one day.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's like something we all say, but so true.
Yeah.
How about if, like, right now, currently, is there something that you're really fascinated with?
I am pretty fascinated. I don't know a ton about it yet, but I've been really into the cycle syncing, which is like the kind of hormone focused way of eating, recovery exercise for women. I've heard some books. I want to read about it. That's, I think the next thing I'm kind of curious about is how much female hormones play in the role of their health. So that's something I want to focus on a little bit more.
You have a title of a book that you remember?
I know that I could be pronouncing it wrong. The author is Alyssa Vitti. She has a couple books. She has another one coming out, and I want to buy her first one. I don't remember the name of the book, but I think if you look her up, it'll come up.
Okay.
But I've heard a lot of people, it's helped with so many issues, so many of their issues. And I think a lot of it does have to do with like there are certain days to do higher intensity exercise, certain days to rest, certain days to eat different. And I've heard nothing but amazing things for people, especially if like women have PCOS and a lot of things like that. I've heard it's pretty much helped all of their symptoms. So I'm curious to read about that.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a very real thing that's complex. So having some guidance could be really valuable.
For sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, that is it. This was great. Thank you for coming on and
Of
giving me
course.
personal experience.
Yeah, I'm happy to have shared everything. Thank you for having me.
Of course. But I will be seeing you soon for your wedding.
Yes. Wish me luck with the last month of planning.
Yeah, it will come together. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. I need to go meditate. So that's what I'm going to go do next.
All right. Well, I'll let you go so you can meditate.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye, everybody.